Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm JJ Flazanes, your producer and empowerment strategist. Thank you for downloading today's episode. Today, we're going to talk about working with crystals and energy. Think of it as a beginner show on crystals. If you're new to crystals, or even actually if you have a lot of crystals, today is going to be enlightening for you to learn some things you may not know. And I know people have been asking me, especially in the Inner Circle membership, when are you going to do a show on crystals? Well, I was waiting for the right person and I manifested her. So apologize for the delay. We now have Kelly. Chaffee Spooner is the creator of Let Them Shine Healing Hands and Crystals. She is an energy worker who channels Reiki, crystal energies, and angelic messages to help facilitate physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. She's been studying Reiki, and her studies of crystals and their metaphysical properties are extensive. Her true gifts are in helping others through their physical and emotional imbalances. These imbalances are brought into the energy field by emotional trauma or neglect of self, and she helps clients find their crystal companions to help on the journey inward. Kelly is part of my Inner Circle mastermind. It was a wonderful manifestation on my part. And I just wanted to let you guys all know, for those of you that are coming to the Manifestation Bootcamp in October, Kelly will be there. So after today's show, not only am I encouraging you to reach out, sign up at crystalswithkelly.com for her free guide and for her free class. But if you want to meet Kelly or work with Kelly, have a Reiki session in person, possibly in spare time in between different things for the event, absolutely come to the Manifestation Bootcamp. Again, there are tickets still available. It will sell out, and when it does, I literally can't add anyone else into the room. So if you're interested in checking that out, jjflazanes.com/bootcamp. The link will be in the show notes, along with Kelly's links as well. We also did record this podcast on video, and you can find that at jjflazanes.tv. So when you hear Kelly putting down crystals on the desk, you'll hear a reverberation on that. And that's what that sound is, because we're actually doing a little bit of a show and tell. So if you want to see the crystals, come on over to jjflazanes.tv. Otherwise, now you know what that sound is. And I look forward to this conversation that I'm going to share with you right now. Welcome to the show, Kelly.
Hi, JJ. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's been in demand. I have had people in the Inner Circle membership asking me for years to find someone to talk about crystals. And then I manifested you. So here you are, you have appeared, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that you're involved in the community and that you came from the community. Even better that you are someone who listened to the show before joining the mastermind and someone who I feel knows who I'm speaking to. So with that said, let's first tell people a little bit more about your story in terms of how you even got into crystals. How did you learn about crystals? Why did you choose this as a profession, as a way to help heal people? When did it first start for you?
Probably about 3 years ago. And I would say most people are going to tell you this when they get into crystals. They picked me. I think I found a piece of pyrite, the place I was working, and they were just left over like in a little baggie in the back. And I found them and thought, oh, I have to save them. They can't be here in this little baggie. And I took them out and I asked the lady, is it okay if I take these pyrite? I can't just take them home without asking. Of course, it's fine. And then I started using them to manifest myself good luck and help, like good wealth and prosperity and good health at the time, because I had a lot of physical ailments and I was going through a lot emotionally. So that's really where it started. And then I would go to any crystal store I could find within a 50-mile radius and buy whatever spoke to me. And then I'd get home and read about them, and they would always meet the criteria for exactly what I was working on. So they just became allies for me to heal myself. And then I was introduced to Reiki from a close friend, and that really shifted everything. So I started implementing crystals with the Reiki because it just made sense. Like, they were so powerful. I was sleeping with them in my bed. I had them in my bra. I had them in my car. I had them in my purse. I was handing them out to everybody I knew. And then I just started collecting them. And then I got an opportunity to buy an entire collection of very large pieces from a relative of mine. And I thought, this is my sign. I have to buy these crystals. And it was a big investment, and I did it. And I'm so glad I did, because I have some magnificent pieces that I now use in my healing practice. So that was really the start of my crystal adventure.
I love it. And I love crystals, and I'm always fascinated. I bought my first little crystal book, and I had sessions with you and you helped choose some for me. And I used to go to a little shop nearby. Actually, they were one of the sponsors for the very first Releasing Weighs You Down. And what I loved about the shop is that you could go in and make your own bracelets. And so they provided the crystals and then the meanings of them. And then you could put like a little charm and they provided the meanings of those. And that became how I made Christmas presents for people. And I would go in and I would check out and I'd find the colors and the meanings and what they did and what they provided for people. And I'd feel into like, what does that person need? And then I would make them a bracelet. And Dot made one for Doug. And yeah, so as you know, and then of course I bought everybody one from Wish Beads for the mastermind. And then this was a gift from Lisa, right? Yeah. Right. So I love them too. And I know I feel better. So let's talk about the power of crystals and people that don't think they're just rocks. Talk about the frequency of a crystal. Why does it work? How does it work? What do you do with it? Everybody wants to know all these things. So let's just start with what's the first thing that you want them to know about a crystal. And let's use one as an example. So I have some with me. And if you're listening to this podcast, know that Kelly and I have also recorded a video, jjflazanes.tv, where you can actually see these crystals. But we're going to give you a way for you to get a cheat sheet from her. Because even after I bought some from Kelly, I'm like, what was that one again? When we're learning these things, we need to have a visual to remind us what they are, to put the pieces together, especially in that little book. I'm thinking that little book should have been organized in colors. How do I don't know the name of it. So if it was organized in colors, I could find the piece faster than alphabetical order. So let's talk about, I have here a rose quartz. Talk about okay, so what does it do?
So rose quartz is known for being a stone of love. It has one of the largest frequencies for the heart center. So if you're craving love, if there's any reason why you are lacking in love, rose quartz is always something we're drawn to. Children especially are drawn to rose quartz because children are so loving and so open with their heart. And that's just one of the stones that little girls in particular always go towards. And anybody that has a wounded inner child especially will want rose quartz. And keeping it in your space, just keeping it in your space will spread love very easily into the room. It's just a beautiful, very soft vibration to it. It's not one of the higher vibrational stones in my opinion, but it's very soft and gentle and just easy to work with. And that's probably why most of us are attracted to it very quickly.
I have an entire bracelet with it on. I added it to this bracelet. And then I actually had years past, when I was single, I actually found a company that made, actually it's the same company that I went to, I think, for this one. They made jewelry and it was a rose quartz necklace. And it was to help manifest, self-love as well as love from others. And I have a whole bunch of their necklaces that I'm not wearing right now. But I just want to talk about, how does one determine if they need a crystal? Does everybody need crystals?
If you are drawn to them, then absolutely. If it's something that it piques your interest, then yes. You'll know if you go into a crystal store, if you are attracted to them or repelled by them. Most of us are attracted to them. If we're any type of spiritual connection for any of us, then we want crystals. But not everybody has that. My husband, he thinks they're nice to look at, but he has no desire to have, to touch them or do anything. He just is not connected that way. So it just depends on who you are. Anybody, mostly empaths especially, love the energy of crystals because we're so sensitive to every energy there is out there. And crystals have a lot of energy. They have a very big personality on their own.
Yeah. So crystals have energy, and each different crystal has a different kind of energy and frequency, which can we look at the color of a crystal and generalize it's in alignment with a chakra?
Yes, typically, yes. So any of the pink stones are for the heart center, and green stone is the same. Any green is for heart healing. So pink is for love of the heart and green is for heart healing. And then the purple stones are usually for connection to the divine. So amethyst, a connection to divine source energy. And it's usually for the crown chakra. The white stones, a lot of the clear stones are the same. They're a source energy connection or angelic realm connection. They are also a crown or third eye. And then the blue stones are third eye or throat. And some of the green stones are also throat and heart. And then the yellow stones are solar plexus. And then any red stones, which is like red jasper, are for the sacral area. And then, or root also. And then the dark stones, the black ones and the brown ones are for the root.
Okay, good to know. And let's talk about, all right, so now we have, if you're watching this on video, if you could go over with me. I had reached out to Kelly. I was having a bit of a time in a transition with a relationship in my life, family member, and I knew I needed some extra support. And so I reached out to buy and purchase some crystals. And so she had picked a few for me. And I said, yes, yes, and yes. And so I just want to show everybody what they are. And it's funny because I actually hadn't made the connection of the chakra versus the color of the crystals until the minute I said it right here on the show. And I know, and of course, I'm looking at the green because I know that the heart chakra is green. And again, you just said it's green for healing, and it's also pink for the heart, just heart energy in general. So let's talk about those of you watching the video. What is this one that you've given me that's beautiful?
That one's ruby zoisite.
And what's its properties?
It has several actually, because it has the ruby and the zoisite. So the green is for the heart, and the ruby is also for the heart, and I believe the solar plexus area. So the ruby zoisite is really good for inducing joy and inviting joy into a space or into your life. And it's also really good for like intense heart healing. So it can just immediately bring joy into your system. If you meditate with that on your heart or your solar plexus, it just ups your vibration of joy very quickly. So it brings abundance of joy and happiness.
Absolutely. And I've heard you say sometimes they're so powerful, like you don't want to be with them all the time. So with this stone, so that's another thing to keep in mind, everybody. If you have crystals, some of them are meant to be used probably in specific times, and some of them you want to wear or have on your person, and some of them may be too powerful to have near you. So what is this one? What do I do with this?
That one you can have near you all the time. You can have that in your living room, in your bedroom, anywhere in your office, like near you, just in a space. It'll make anybody happy that comes into that room. Just instantly brings joy.
Okay, I want to go over two more. This one.
Okay, that's malachite. Malachite is specifically for heart healing. So it is a profound heart healing crystal. And that's why I say don't keep that one like in your bedroom, because it's just so intense. So you can meditate with that on your heart if you need heart healing, and only use it for meditation. Like I would not keep that in a space near me, because for me, it's very intense. I actually get a little bit repelled by malachite. It almost makes me nauseous.
Where would I put it in when I'm not meditating with it?
In a room that you don't spend a lot of time in, or in a cabinet.
Wow. Okay. All right. I'm going to try. I'm going to see. I mean, I'm going to meditate with it, but I'm going to see where, I'm going to feel into where I think it would be best. And then there was one more that I purchased at that time from you. What is this one?
That one's a ruby fuchsite.
And it's a little lighter green, and I see some speckles of like pink in it.
Yeah. So ruby fuchsite is also for the heart, and it's really good for like past life work. And it's really good for releasing any negative emotions that are held up in any negative thought like processes that you have that repeat themselves, especially if they're repeated in this lifetime or past lifetimes. It's really good to help clear that. So it's a great past life karmic debt release crystal. That's what I've used it for. I think it's has a nice soft energy to it.
And is this okay to keep near me a lot?
Yep.
Okay, Great. Going on my new stand-up desk. Excellent. All right. One of the things that I loved about Kelly is when Kelly joined the Inner Circle Mastermind, and in one of our very first calls, it might even have been the introductory call at the end of last year, I think I might have pulled out a crystal, which Kelly then corrected me in terms of what it was. There were two of them, actually. There was one that was a citrine, or I thought it was a citrine, and you told me that was actually dyed quartz, correct?
It would be heat-treated amethyst.
Oh, heat-treated amethyst. Oh, let's talk about that. So when someone has a crystal and they don't know, and I bought it at a crystal shop, or I bought it somewhere where this is what they were telling me that it was, and you're telling me it's not actually what it is. First of all, why would they do that? And do they know?
Okay, this is a big controversy in the industry, and yes, they know. Citrine's not easy to get a hold of. It only comes from a couple places in the world, and it's very rare, and it's extremely expensive. So citrine and before it didn't used to be this way. It used to be a little more prolific, and it wasn't expensive, and people loved it. It has a beautiful, joyful presence to it. It's this nice solar plexus crystal in it. It manifests luck in a very quick way. So everybody wants it. It's a great crystal, but they stopped being able to get it. So they came up with another solution. They found out if you heat treat amethyst, it looks like citrine. So they started selling that because it's a lot cheaper and it's a lot easier to get a hold of. Amethyst is prolific in a lot of parts of the world. So they would just take the undergraded amethyst that they couldn't sell as nice pieces, and they would heat treat it and sell it as citrine. And I'm not sure when this started. Maybe I can't even say, like, I have no idea when this started. I only came into this industry 3 years ago. And for me, I'm very, I like things to be very black and white. I'm a very honest person, and it really irks me when I find these things out. But I've talked to many people in the field and who sell crystals. That's what they've been doing for a long time. And they're like, hey, this is the way it is. You're never going to change it. So you're going to have to just get over it and sell what you want to sell, or tell people what you want to tell them. But so that's what happened with citrine and a few other things too. There are definitely dyed crystals out there. And just knowing what you're looking for, and the more you get into it, the more you know what's authentic and what's not. And trusting your crystal dealer is a really big deal. So if you go into a crystal store and you see something that you know is not what it is, like a dyed howlite, they could sell that as turquoise, and turquoise is very expensive. And if they're selling dyed howlite as turquoise, they're making a significant amount of money on something that's very common, that's just dyed. So if you figure that out, and don't go back there, find yourself a crystal dealer or a supplier who you trust and only purchase from that one person. And I know that may not be possible for everybody, but that's really what I can suggest to make sure.
Of course it is. You can buy from Kelly. So
buy from me.
You can buy from Kelly. So that's problem solved. And one of those things, besides that, what I thought was citrine, which is really heat treated amethyst, was also the selenite. So I have a couple pieces of selenite. And can you explain, Kelly, those of you again that are listening, you might want to come over to the video, jjflazanes.tv, to see what we're talking about. Explain what the difference is. Like, this isn't selenite, or it's a version of selenite?
It is selenite. It's a version of selenite called satin spar. It grows differently. It grows in a different location than this is selenite. This is a clear selenite. This grows in hot springs in Utah, and they harvest this, and it looks like this. It comes out as plates. It's usually very see-through. It has a very different vibrational state to it. So it's very, very, very high in vibration. And if you put it on your chest, it literally connects you to source energy immediately. Like, it has a direct connection to source energy in the angelic realms, and it will clear your system very, very, very quick. So any negative energy you have in there just completely unstagnates it and takes care of it. And then source energy comes flooding down into the system. The satin spar is really good for clearing. So if you wanted to clear, like I'm clearing negative energy, but it doesn't charge. So it doesn't have that charging property to it. So I put crystals on top of this. So I used this red jasper in my healing practice because it's nice and flat and it sits really well on the stomach area. And I charge it overnight. So it just sits on my plate of selenite and it charges it. I don't have to wait for the full moon. I don't have to run it under cold water. I don't have to do Epsom salts baths. I just put it on a piece of selenite and it charges my crystals. So I have them all over the place.
Explain to those that are listening and watching what charging a crystal means.
So crystals work very hard, especially something like a red jasper that I use on clients 3 to 4 times a day. This is collecting a lot of negative energy. So it needs to be cleansed. Some can transmute into positive energy, others cannot. Like red jasper cannot do that. It has to be cleansed. And if I don't cleanse this, it will find a way to break itself. Like it will fall off my stand and bust into a million pieces because it's just had enough. And at that point, I'll have to go bury it in the dirt and say, thank you for your service. So if I want to keep a piece like this, I have to charge it. And you can charge it in many different ways. Quickest way to do that for me is my selenite plates.
Okay, how else?
In the moon, full moonlight is charging. You can use cold running water for 3 minutes, and you can do an Epsom salt soak overnight, depending on the crystal. For the crystal, depending on the crystal, you want to make sure that that crystal is okay to actually soak in Epsom salt. Some of them will dissolve. So it's not always the best solution. I don't ever do that because I'd have to look it up and make sure it's going to be safe. I mean, most of them, like amethyst and all the quartz pieces, would be fine, but so like the malachite, you can't do that with. So you'd have to just make sure you knew. So the fastest way to do it is cold running water for 3 minutes or selenite plate.
And all crystals are safe to do cold running water for 3 minutes.
Yeah, there might be one or two that are not.
The malachite would be okay.
I'd have to
Maybe
look
not.
that up. It may not be because it's fibrous.
Yeah, it feels different than the rest of them. That's why I asked. Okay, well, what about like saging and smudging and Palo Santo and things like that? We can clear energy that way too, right?
Yep, that does. It helps. It doesn't. I don't think it lasts as long, but it does help.
Okay.
If you needed to do it immediately, then yes, I would sage. Like when I get something from somebody else, if I buy a crystal, like a big piece, like my amethyst, come from somebody else. Like if I buy this piece from somebody, I will sage it and run it under cold water and sit it on the plate for a week and leave it out in the full moon when the moon comes and do that for like 3 moons just to make sure it's cleared before I start using it for my healing. Or leave it outside. You can also bury it in the dirt or leave it in your garden space where the sun hits it, because some of them really like the sun. So like for charging, the smoky quartz in particular loves the sun. So if you leave this on a windowsill, south-facing windowsill for a day, or out on the porch in the sun, that's really what it wants for like clearing and charging.
So smoky quartz, the dark color, is it a protective stone?
Yes.
A grounding stone?
Grounding and protection, and transmutes negative energy.
I'm getting this. Yeah, that's why I think I have hematite and black onyx on my yeah, I have amethyst, rose quartz, clear quartz. What else do I have? Hematite and black onyx, right? Is that what or this is, or black tourmaline? I don't know if it's an onyx.
Sure if it's glass or if it's a stone. Can you tell? Because it might be obsidian.
No, it's either black tourmaline or onyx, just because I remember I made so many of them that I gave everybody had a bit of grounding in their bracelets, and I needed it for grounding. So yeah. Okay, good. I'm learning. See, I'm getting it. I got it now. And hopefully you guys are learning too. So when you see a crystal, you know that there's a correlation too. So if you're picking them on your own, besides the intuition and the energetic pull that you might have towards a crystal that just sort of makes you feel good, it's probably in alignment with a chakra and possibly needing to help either clear or cleanse or release things or unblock in your chakra. So obviously crystals can be used for energetic healing, uplifting, unblocking. Like, are there other reasons why people would be using crystals?
Yeah, to manifest. So manifesting anything you want, you can cast whatever spell you want on your crystal and have it work for you. So you cast your spell on it to manifest wealth, well-being, health, love, anything you want, prosperity, cast your spell and let it do its work. So after you've done your little ritual, that's it. You just got to forget about it, and then it'll do its work, and then it'll bring it to you.
All right. So this is good news. And again, Kelly also she does sell crystals, and she doesn't always have like a million to choose from, but she buys and sells what she has, and she picks out the pieces for you. So you're welcome to get in touch with her that way. But I want to talk about the cheat sheet that you have. One of the things that I want you to do a course. I want you to do, because I want to learn also, and I'm a beginner at this, even though I love crystals. I've always had them. I've always used them. But I'm the person that goes into the shop and I see the necklace and it says here, this is for love, and it's rose quartz. And of course, see that enough and you remember, oh, rose quartz is for love and heart chakra and healing and attracting love. And I was like, great. So now that I know that, but there's like a million crystals. And so not that I plan on learning all of them, even after I got the ones from you, I'm like, and I sent you a picture of the ones I have from other people. And I'm like, I don't know what this is. I forget what this is. Someone told me years ago when I bought it. I didn't write it down and now I don't know. So can you tell us a little bit about your cheat sheet in terms of, like what it includes and like is it like the top 10 or top 20, like most widely used or most available crystals that someone can buy somewhere, or the ones like the daily use ones?
Yeah, most of mine are the daily use ones, the ones that I use in my practice, the ones that I used all along in my healing journey. And my main focus is on the metaphysical properties, so the healing capacity of a crystal. And then also sometimes on the ability to manifest, to cast spells and use them for that, like, especially for wealth and wellness and health and prosperity. Those have been my main focus all along, especially for health. So I don't focus on any of the physical. There's so many physical benefits to crystals that I know nothing about. And I don't really want to get into that. I'm not a doctor and I don't want to pretend to be. So most of them are for metaphysical, for spiritual purposes.
But they do have physical properties.
They absolutely have a lot of physical. There's a lot of them that are really good for balancing adrenals and calcium intake and you name it, helping with arthritis. I mean, there's so many properties to them. It's endless.
Yeah, I think I made one year red jasper was something for some physical healing. I remember because before this store, I went to a different woman who made crystals, and she would make it though, and I would just pick out what I wanted, and I made one for my mom, and it had to do with circulation and healing. And I remember either some kind of red jasper or maybe a tiger's eye was in there. So I remember seeing all those properties, and I would choose, again, making these bracelets or whatever I was doing for people based on what they needed and what I thought would help them in their healing journey. So, okay. Now, the book that I have, that little pocketbook, does that mention some of the physical things?
I don't believe your pocketbook would. The full-size version of that book does. So that pocketbook that you have is not really for beginners. It's a great book. It's more of a book for me, for somebody who knows exactly what they have and what they're looking for. It's a quick resource for me to flip through that little thing. I know exactly what I'm going after. There are a lot of other beginner books that I could recommend. I don't have any of them with me, of course. And so I think I can't remember their names because I don't use them anymore, but there are some beginner guides that do actually go by color. So one of the first ones I got, one of the first books I ever got when I started this was based on color. And that was how I started learning them. And I think it was Judy Hall. I think it's Judy Hall. She has a book that's really, really easy to follow. And it's really good for beginners. And it has a lot of crystals, a lot of common and not so common ones.
Okay. Well, I'm going to have to get that book just because I have all these crystals that I can't flip through that book and look at every single page. I just want to flip to a color and look through just the colors. That would be so much easier. But even if you don't, want to get that deep in, you can just reach out to Kelly. So let's talk about some of the things that Kelly does and what she offers. There is this cheat sheet that are the top. What do you think? How many do you think approximately? You don't have to tell an exact number that are on the cheat sheet.
Probably 20.
Okay. The top 20 daily use crystals for metaphysical, spiritual, and manifestation reasons. Yes?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Exactly.
And there'll be a picture of the crystal, so you'll know the color of it, and then the description, what it does. And then will you say any more about like what to do with it or not what to do with it? Or is it just what the properties are?
What the properties are. There's many different variations you can use them for.
Yeah, probably endless
possibilities when it comes to meditating or where to put it or where to carry it or.
Yeah, sort of like cooking, right? And diet. It's like, you can take a couple different ingredients and use different amounts of them in different ways for different reasons. So think of crystals like that, like how you're planning meals in terms of what you're using and when and why and all that good stuff. So, and you absolutely can learn more from Kelly. So not only does she have the cheat sheet that she can offer, she's also going to start doing, I believe, a regular, whether it be once a month, every 6 weeks, whatever, Crystals with Kelly, like free crystal class, right? That you'll have on Zoom. And you can come and learn about different crystals and what they're good for and ask questions. And it'll be completely free. A way for you to sort of pick Kelly's brain once a month and come on in. And I don't know if she's going to do any kind of Reiki in there, but Kelly does Reiki, and she does that with people one-on-one and might start to dabble in some of that with the group. But if you're interested in learning more, because there's a lot to learn, and this one show is not going to be like the end for you with crystals. So now you know Kelly, everyone, and you can follow Kelly on all of her social media channels. You can go to crystalswithkelly.com and download the cheat sheet and sign up for her free crystal class that she'll do once a month. And do you have any idea about how you're going to structure the class in terms of, can they bring their crystals and ask questions? Or are you going to showcase a crystal or two each month?
Yeah, I'll probably showcase one crystal a month and then bring different variations of it and ask the people come with their crystals if they have questions about them. I can identify what they are, most of them online, and then tell you what you could use them for and what their properties are. And then you just open it up to questions, because I'd like to just kind of wing it. That's how I roll. I don't really like to do structured. It's not really my thing. I find it more fun when there's interaction and we all can just ask what we want to ask and learn what we want to learn along the way, and then have it evolve into what it needs to be.
Well, I'll be there with all my crystals, because I still have like 5 that I still don't know what they are. Although there is a crystal shop here where I bought them and I probably could just go there and like take them. Oh, that requires me leaving the house. So bring your crystals and just double check, because I didn't know this wasn't selling. Like this wasn't the most powerful selling. I didn't realize. I was told that I could use this to charge. And so now you're saying it's not as powerful as the one that you showed. So now I won't expect this to do the charging for me, which is good to know.
You probably will not find the clear selenite in regular shops. It's not readily available. It's going to come from specialty places. And you probably hear the same argument from all of those shops that, yes, it is selenite, and people are just picking things apart. Like it's so controversial. So it's like a battle you may not want to enter with the shop owner, because they are selling what they have access to.
Well, just like with anything, I mean, I was thinking about the jewelry industry years ago. My aunt-in-law, she's no longer married to my uncle, but when I was young, I would go to stores with her. She was making Swarovski crystal like stuff. Like we would put the crystals on clothing, on jackets. In fact, I still have one of my jackets that's really beaded with all these different crystals. So we would go to different shops, and I remember learning from jewelry stores and different gem owners who were selling to her and buying from her that, like, for instance, an emerald or a ruby, like you're not going to find a real emerald or a ruby anymore. And back then, that was over 20 years ago, it was probably closer to 30 years ago. Even then, that's when they started doing those dye treated synthetic. So I learned very early, like in my teens, what a synthetic ruby and a synthetic, sapphire and a synthetic emerald. Like I have emeralds and they're real. But if you go out to a jewelry store right now and you see the really deep red and really deep blue and the really deep green, the likelihood is it's not real. It's synthetic. And for me, I wanted to know if it was real or synthetic. And I didn't even think about the energetic properties when I was, 16 or whatever, however old I was. I just knew that the idea of it being man-made wasn't as pleasing as it being found as a crystal. So, and so I don't even know how many people actually know that if you're buying rubies and emeralds and sapphires right now, they're not real. Unless you ask them, is this synthetic and man-made, or is this real? Because they've overmined them and we can't find them anymore. So the real ones are going to be really hard to find and very expensive. So if you have real rubies, emeralds, and sapphires, hold on to them. They are very valuable, especially for those collectors who know the difference. So, in that way, I've had some experience in that, as well as even like in food. Like how many people don't know what's in their food? Like they use gluten and wheat to put fillers in things, right? In protein powders and things. We're like, but it's protein, right? But it's filled with all this other extra cheaper crap. And unless you're asking the question or reading the label, you don't know the difference. So you have to really know to trust somebody. And this isn't because I'm trying to scare anybody into, being negative or being, second guessing people, but I didn't know. And now I'm glad that I know, because if you have expectations of what you're buying for it to actually do something for you, and then you don't think it works, it may not be, the problem may not be that it doesn't work. The problem may be you may think it's something that it's not. So definitely, if you're in the market to buy some crystals, have a session with Kelly, come to her class, download her cheat sheet, crystalswithkelly.com, and make sure to, follow her on her Instagram. The link will be in the show notes, and on her Facebook page and whatever she's doing. And then come to the free class once a month to ask her the questions, because you don't want to waste money and time on things that you're expecting to do what it can't do, because it's not what was sold to you. And unfortunately, it is part of business, and it's what's out there in every industry, right?
Yes, absolutely. I'm also offering a new service to intuitively pick a crystal for somebody. So like a one-on-one service that we could do a 15-minute Zoom call, and I could tell you exactly what crystals that you need and make recommendations and tell you how to use them and what to do with them exactly. So I do offer that as a service as well.
Awesome. So let's talk about your business a little bit, since Kelly's in the Inner Circle Mastermind. Talk about that. Talk about starting your business. Talk about your business and where you are and what you're offering and what you're doing and your calling in the world to step into who you really are.
So I quit my job, which was a full-time position as a gardener. I was very happy there. It was a really good job, but it was not my zone of genius. So my zone of genius is absolutely the Reiki and the crystals and angelic messaging. So I receive messages from angels, from my clients' angels in particular, about their journey and what they need in their next steps. So I started getting this calling to do this about 6 months before I joined the inner circle, and it just wasn't going away. I thought I could ride it out, and maybe I could get to the end of this season, and maybe I'd have some money saved and enough to get me through 6 months if I needed to do that. And that didn't end up happening. The springtime rolled around and I just couldn't stay anymore. And I just had this urge to leave that job and to step into this role of helping people on their healing journeys. So I did that. I took the leap of faith, and I would definitely say it's because of the mastermind and the inner circle and all the encouragement I've received from all the friends I've made in that, and the feeling of confidence that I could do it, and knowing that if I did it, that it would all work out. And it has so far worked out. So I am doing well. I have a beautiful new studio that I just came into last Thursday. So I've only been here a total of 4 days now. And it's been amazing. It's perfect. Exactly what I needed to do was just get into my own space as opposed to subletting from somebody else, so I could infuse it with all of my love and light and all my crystals. And I brought all my crystal stuff down here. So it's all out of my house now, which is really nice. It's a big load off my husband and myself, because it was taking over my entire life. And I'm attracting more people that are like-minded and building a community. And I'm going to be hosting my first in-person class in my studio this Saturday with the kids, which I'm really looking forward to. So we're going to make mojo bags, and they're going to pick a little spirit animal and color it, and then pick some crystals and some herbs and put it in their little mojo bag and cast their spell on it. And they can take it home and put it under their pillow if they want sweet dreams, or hang it above their door if they want for good luck, or whatever they want to do with it. I'll make suggestions for that. So I'm really looking forward to having people in my space and building my community even more. So it's been an amazing, absolutely amazing journey. And yeah, I'm very blessed.
Tell people where to find you on Instagram and on Facebook.
Okay. So my Instagram is Let Them Shine Crystals, and my Facebook is Let Them Shine Healing Hands and Crystals.
Both links will be in the show notes.
Yeah. And my website is letthemshinecrystals.com.
But to get the free download of the cheat sheet, as well as to sign up for her class, you're going to go to crystalswithkelly.com. And that's how you're going to find out that information, so you can get more time with Kelly. And again, look on her website. Like she said, she has another offering, something on the menu item you can purchase, which is to that intuitive crystal choosing, which she's extremely intuitive and very talented and very gifted. So please, if you feel at all called or inspired, make sure to be in touch. Go to crystalswithkelly.com and just connect there first, and go follow her on Instagram. You know, I know crystal people, and I hope you guys know and feel that I don't just bring on anybody onto the show. And I have someone who's very successful at crystals. I've been to many of her events, and I did not feel she was the right fit for many reasons. It took me a while to uncover why. And then I finally got it. I was like, oh, that's why. Like, there was a disconnect for me. And so when Kelly applied for the mastermind last year, and I was like, oh my God, I've been looking for you. I need you. Everyone has been asking about crystals, and I've yet to do a show over all of these years about crystals. And it's so needed. And again, it's such a wide topic that while we could have Kelly back on a lot, I really have encouraged her to start this sort of once a month free crystal class, because there are so many crystals, and it could go on and on and on. She's got enough content to last her 20 years. So make sure to follow her, see what she's doing, get involved, hire her, buy a crystal from her, ask her questions, come to the free class, go to crystalswithkelly.com. So that way you can get that cheat sheet. I'm going to be the first one to get it because I need it. And if you're going to get some crystals, I definitely recommend that you check with Kelly first and either buy them from her or hire her to help you pick which ones to buy and from where. So Kelly, thank you so much for being on the show and for helping to educate people about crystals and the power of crystals and why to use them and how to sort of intuitively pick them for themselves, meaning like the colors, and if they just feel good, like just make it real simple. And like if it feels good, like it's calling to you, listen to the calling and do it. Are there any last words of wisdom, advice, or thoughts that you want to share with people?
Yes, crystals are all about intentions. So it's about you putting your energy into them and programming them for whatever it is you are working on. So as soon as you get your crystal, make love to it. Just give it all of your attention and all your focus, and program it to whatever your intentions you have, and it will do it for you. and just having that trust that it's going to deliver what you've asked it for.
Awesome. Thanks, Kelly, for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.